Good evening, viewers. Thanks indeed for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. The film producer and student of the University of Yaoundé, one who was abducted 10 days ago, says that his kidnappers demanded to know the brain behind his movie. And also in this newscast, Iya Mohammed has been prevented from leaving the country. His passport was confiscated or seized at the Douala International Airport as he was about leaving for France. Plus, a set of triplets dies shortly after giving birth. The incident has been blamed on poor medical or lack of proper medical facilities. We shall be telling you this and more just in a moment. Good evening, viewers. Thanks indeed for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast. On Equinox Television, a set of triplets have all died at the Konsamba General Hospital barely 4 hours after they were given birth by an 18-year-old mother. And locals have attributed the sad situation on lack of incubators at the said hospital. Rani Belsato tells us more in the following report.
L'enfant me dit qu'elle a mal à la tête. Je dis que mais c'est comment on peut avec la tête là? Elle me dit que la tête. Après, elle a commencé à vomir. Pendant que j'enlevais les vomissements, elle a convulsé.
The grandmother of the bereaved explains how it all happened. She said her granddaughter, who was 7 months pregnant, was rushed to hospital after she collapsed. Doctors at the Konsamba Regional Hospital said she must undergo an operation because she did not have enough energy for normal birth. The 18-year-old Vanessa successfully gave birth to a set of triplets who were taken to the nursery and put in incubators.
Ils sont amenés directement dans leur couveuse qui ne marche même pas. Ils m'ont pas dit bien avant que ça ne marchait pas. Ils ont seulement mis les enfants dans la couveuse. Après au moins 4 de temps que une infirmière vient me dire que bon voilà ce que le docteur.
She explains that the nurse informed them 4 hours after to take the children to another hospital. To their surprise, they were demanded to deposit a sum of money before the hospital ambulance could be used to transfer the children.
Ils nous font comprendre que c'est à nous de nous débrouiller pour trouver un véhicule pour transférer les enfants. À quoi servent donc ces ambulances dans les hôpitaux? Ils nous demandent de transférer les enfants, mais c'est à nous encore de chercher le véhicule qui va transférer les enfants. Pourtant, il y a des ambulances dans l'hôpital.
C'est un truc qui est venu vraiment brusquement comme ça. Là. Pour le moment, je n'ai pas l'argent. C'est une élève. Elle a fait ça aussi avec un élève.
In the course of all the debate on the transfer of the children, the male child first died, then the 2 girls followed suit. Meantime, the mother of the triplets is still in a very critical condition. Residents around that area have attributed the sad situation on the absence of oxygenated incubators at the Konsamba Regional Hospital and say if nothing is done on time, they fear many such situations reoccurring.
In another sad story, a woman was crushed this afternoon to death in a fatal road accident that occurred on the Vuri Bridge here in the economic capital, Douala. The bike she boarded reportedly got stuck in the rails on the bridge as the rider tried to overtake another vehicle. An approaching heavy-duty truck then crushed the lady who fell on the ground, and her mortal remains were rushed immediately to a local hospital mortuary. And now, the missing producer, we take you to the capital city Yaoundé, where the missing producer and student of a film 139, The Last Predator, was today found by a wood vendor in Mendongi locality in the central region of the country. Richard Njimedi, the name of the said producer, had a fractured legs and hands. And Roland Akoni, the following report tells us that he is currently receiving treatment at the ward or one of the emergency wards of the Social Insurance Hospital in the central region of the country.
At the BMRC District Hospital, Richard Jimeli received first aid treatment. This was a few hours after he was discovered in a bush by a wood vendor in Mendong 10 days after he was reported missing. Later, the producer of the film 139, The Last Predator, is taken to this X-ray center. The X-ray reveals he has a hand fracture.
Il avait une fracture sur le 5e doigt.
Jimeli could not talk to our mic, but he whispered that the hand was injured and fractured by his kidnappers who wanted to know the people behind his movie. denouncing longevity in power by some African leaders. He did not reveal the identity of his abductors. Officers of the Mendong police station showed up at the hospital for security reasons. His movie friends and relatives were also near him for moral support. Apollinaire Chupo is Jimeli's elder brother. He says Jimeli called him 6 a.m. Wednesday, saying he was inside a bush in Mendong.
J'ai eu un coup de fil à 6 heures, oui.
By the time he arrived at the scene, he was already at the Gendarmerie Brigade, from where he was transported to the BMRC hospital for first aid treatment.
Et nous sommes rendus à l'hôpital de BMRC.
Jimeli is now receiving treatment in an emergency ward of the Yaoundé Social Insurance Hospital.
And the case of the said film producer Richard Jimeli, will remain in the center region of the country, did not leave filmmakers, his friends and relatives indifferent. In the following report, which comes up next, Roland Akon looks at the level of mobilization on the part of his friends, relatives, like I earlier said, just to get his liberation. His report.
As soon as Richard Jimeli was reported missing 10 days ago, his movie friends convened a press briefing in Yaoundé to denounce his abduction. They refuted as false allegations that the movie 139, The Last Predator, aims to destabilize the regime in place.
Le film en lui-même ne retrace rien, n'a pas de complot.
They said the movie has an authorization of the Ministry of Arts and Culture.
Ce film a eu le visa du ministère de la Culture.
Mobilization for his release entered high gear with ADEC, the students' rights group, threatening a protest march in all universities. Jimeli is a master-level student in the University of Yaoundé 1. The press was also mobilized with regular reports over his abduction. Richard's relatives and lawyers were on a regular basis at the police pressing for his release.
Au niveau de la police judiciaire, parce que nous allons.
The discovery Wednesday of Richard Jimeli leaves this member of ADEC with mixed feelings.
C'est un sentiment de tristesse.
He's happy that Richard has been found, but regrets that such an act took place in President Biya's Cameroon.
Parce que ça n'honore pas notre pays.
A situation which is yet unclear why the film producer was being kidnapped. We shall keep you updated in our subsequent newscast. Now, the passport of the president of the National Football Federation, the president of the National Football Federation, Iya Mohamed, was yesterday confiscated at the Douala International Airport. Iya Mohamed was heading for France for a board of directors meeting. A senior reporter, Christophe, tells us in the following report.
Iya Mohamed, que nous avons eu au téléphone, confirme exactement que son passeport lui a été retiré alors qu'il s'apprêtait.
I apologize for that mix-up there. We shall be coming back to the report of Christophe in a subsequent newscast. That report was actually talking about the passport of the president of the National Football Federation, Iya Mohamed, that was confiscated at the Douala International Airport. That was yesterday, and reports say he was heading to France for a board of directors meeting before the incident happened. Now we talk about measures taken here in the economy.
With Iya Mohamed, he confirms to this reporter that his travel document, the passport, was effectively seized, and this when he was about to travel to Paris, France for a meeting. The managing director of the cotton development company Sodecoton says, quote, "My passport was seized at the airport. You can tell the world," unquote. And about his whereabouts, Iya Mohamed says he is in his native town, Garoua, the headquarters of Sodecoton. The man who doubles as Fecafoot president has thus been denied traveling to France by security officers at the Douala International Airport. That was Tuesday at about 10:45 p.m. This withdrawal of passport certainly has a link with the recent decision by the Supreme State Control that found Iya Mohamed guilty of 20-count charges as general manager of Sodecoton. Is this the beginning of a long journey towards incarceration? As many before Iya Mohamed had passed through this process before landing behind bars.
We apologize sincerely for that mixed up there. Senior reporter Christopher reporting on Iya Mohammed, who was denied traveling out of the country. That was yesterday. Now, measures taken by local authorities, administrative authorities here in the economic capital Douala to restore order in the city seem to be falling on deaf ears. Prefectural orders remain violated, and decisions aimed at regulating the transport sector are yet to be fully implemented. Jonathan Babila visited some areas here in the economic capital Douala. Now tells us more in the following report.
Douala, economic capital of Cameroon, is one of the cities of the country reputed for urban disorder. Measures taken by local administrative authorities yet towards curbing urban disorder in the town are not respected by many. For instance, despite prefectural orders prohibiting the circulation of heavy-duty trucks in the heart of the city during the day, such vehicles ply the streets on a daily basis, almost at every hour. The sale of alcoholic drinks in filling stations and transport agencies is equally prohibited, but in many of such places, crates of beer can be seen packed, while clients are served behind closed doors. Owners of tricycles have also been banned from transporting persons, but they continue to do so. The loading of public transport vehicles at unauthorized places, wrong parking of vehicles, and overloading have become the order of the day in some parts of the city. However, all is not gloomy, so to speak, as motorbike riders, for instance, some parts of the city. However, all is not gloomy, so to speak, as motorbike riders, for instance, respect orders prohibiting them from circulating in some parts of the city, that is, Bali, Bonanjo, Deido, and Bonaprizo.
Now back to the central region of the country. 29 brand new Toyota vehicles have been handed to the Frontier Territorial Unit of the National Gendarmerie and the Intelligence Unit of the Army. Cameroon's Minister of Defense, Alain Edgar Mebenko, who chaired the event in the central region of the country at the military headquarters, said the gesture aims to redynamize the territorial and also intelligence unit of the Army for more efficient work. He urged the officers to use the vehicles with diligence and exclusively for service, and the Secretary of State in charge of the National Gendarmerie, Jean-Baptiste Bocam, received for the Gendarmerie Corps, while the Army Chief of Staff, General Remy Claude Meka, received for the Army. Now we take you out of Cameroon to talk about the situation of the embattled President of the Central African Republic, Francois Bozizé, who has accused Chad of helping the rebels that toppled his government. He said that it was Chad who assisted the neutralized Seleka forces, causing him to flee, including the attack on a base of South African troops. Chad is currently hosting an emergency regional summit in the Central African on the case of the Central African Republic, and has not yet commented on the comments or the outing of Francois Bozizé. And Mr. Bozizé also said he was denied a seat at the meeting that is ongoing at the ongoing regional summit. Now we talk sports, where officials of the Southwest Cycling Federation are bracing up to host a national cycling race ahead of the 50th anniversary celebration to take place in Boya Southwest region of the country. Our Boya-based correspondent Derek Jado tells us more in the following report.
As the infrastructural transformation of Boya brightens the town each day for the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Cameroon, the Cycling Federation of the region is also bracing up for the 50th anniversary race. This national race is promising to be very competitive, and a renowned Southwest Limbe-based cycling club, Victoria Atlantic, says they are aware and have increased their training days per week, with hours also double each session.
The first laps will be on the 17th of May from Douala to Kumba, and at the Kumba downtown green on the 17th, we'll have what they call a cycling festival. The next day, which is the 18th, we'll have the second lap, will start from Kumba to Boya. But this will be a race that will pass from Buea through Mile 4, where all the roads that have been retouched for the reunification proper will be the particular laps through which it will pass. Through Mile 4, through Sase College, come up to Buea Town, move around the newly created road towards the Afosi, comes back to Mile 17 and up to the Bombo Square.
Barrister John Kamani, the Southwest Regional President of Cycling Federation, on one of his visits at the Lime Cycling Club training ground, explained the significance of this 50th anniversary cycling race.
We make sure that this race will carry the importance and the dynamic nature of the Cameroonian youth, in particular those of the East and Western region, will definitely be exposed during this race. This is a reunification race. It will be under the patronage of the head of state himself, who is also a bicycle lover.
We stay with you, Derek Jato, in Buea Southwest region of the country, to add that the president of the Southwest Wrestling Federation has pledged to ensure that talented wrestlers go beyond our international or national boundaries. He was speaking during a wrestling competition shortly after his installation. Derek Jato tells us more in the following report.
Wrestling in the Southwest region is known as a Bakore man sport. During this inter-village wrestling competition here in Bakore town, a neighborhood in Great Sopo village, the Great Sopo chief, Etina Monono, said wrestling as a culture of the Bakore people must be preserved and passed to the next generation.
Bakore culture must be maintained, and this is one aspect of it. You can see we have pulled a crowd of over 2,000 people here, and this is going to go all around the villages.
Happy that this Bakore tradition happens to be a profession. Talking to Equinox Television, the Southwest Regional President of Wrestling Federation, Prince Adolf Molwa, sounded determined to apt the Southwest Wrestling team for international competitions by making his selection from gatherings like this.
Going into the interior, getting those who are fit, getting those who can perform, getting those who have that zeal in them as a discipline. You have to train them, put them, teach them the tactics, carry them into the international level. Like we have competitions which are being held in Yaoundé, and those who perform well and those who are going to win have to go international to go and represent the country.
The crowd pulling game, apart from being entertaining, many say it is a unifying factor. From the 7 villages partaking in this 2013 tournament, Bukwai village topped the chart with 23 points and will be hosting this rotating game for the next 1 month.
Thanks indeed, Derek Jato, for that package from the Southwest region of the country. Now that does it for this segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. Good evening once again, viewers. Thanks indeed for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We are going to be talking about a special control activity that was launched today in the economic capital Douala to ensure roadworthiness of vehicles plying roads in the city of Douala, and also checking the licenses of drivers. And it was being piloted by the regional delegate of transport, and we have her here tonight. Good evening, Ms. Pamela Ayok-Etan. Thanks indeed for joining us tonight.
Good evening. Thank you.
Like I earlier said, you were this morning carrying out a special control on roadworthiness of cars and also checking the licenses of drivers. How did it go, and what were your observations on the field?
Yeah, this morning, or since Monday, the 1st of April, the Minister of Transport had instructed that we should do this control in the city of Douala, because for some time we concentrate on the outskirts, and we don't really understand that there are many irregularities in the city. So the Minister of Transport instructed us to do this control from the 1st of April. And we started on the 1st of April, but today we had 7 points of control, and we had to do it very profoundly with the police and the gendarmes and the agents of the commune and the syndicates. And when we went down to the field today, we realized that really there were many irregularities in the city of Douala. We discovered many drivers without licenses. We discovered many vehicles that were not immatriculated, and they don't even have the roadworthiness certificate, and some vehicles not even have the insurance and or the vignette. And this vignette has been they started selling them since January. So there's no reason why today, April 3rd or the 4th, today's 3rd, they don't have this vignette. So we discovered all these irregularities, and we even found many drivers who are using telephones while driving, and this was really, really unfortunate.
But these are problems that we see that we have been observing over the years. The issue of absence of driving licenses from, and also the wordiness or the wordiness of vehicles plying roads here in the city of Douala. What has been happening with all the observations that the ministry and also the delegation has been making in the past?
You know, there's a time for everything, and you know how most drivers are very, very recalcitrant. But we always do this control, and like today, the streets of Douala was empty. Since we had heard that we're going to do this control, most people parked their cars. So, but this control is not ending today or tomorrow. It's going to go on for a long time. So I don't know if those cars will be parked permanently, you see. But if they can realize that we're not on the field, they will come out again with all the irregularities. But for the period we'll be there, which is going to be a long time, we're not going to have any more irregularities in Douala.
So now, after what are the measures that you are going to put in place to ensure that your efforts are fully implemented?
Okay, like today, before a few minutes before I got here, we had already registered 176 vehicles that are grounded in the different communes in Bonaberi, Bonamusa, DUP, and Ajemi. So these cars will be there. Users have to regularize their situations, and then they go there, they pay the commune fee before they can pull out their cars, and that is going to be very, very inconvenient for many of them.
No, there's always this problem of follow-up. You have said that you have confirmed that this is not a situation that is happening just now. It's something that has been happening in the past. How would you ensure that you keep on doing this and all the time to ensure that there is order in the city of Douala, because there's a lot of disorder in the transport sector somehow in Douala, as we can observe?
You know, for the past months, we've been sensitizing these drivers, and it's about time we pass through the phase of repression, which is what we are doing right now. We're not going to stop. We're going to continue, because there's so much disorder in the city, and the only way to stop this kind of unruly behavior is to have this control permanently in the field.
And as we can see, it's causing a lot of accidents too in the city of Douala.
What do you mean?
The issue of maybe disorganization.
Yeah, sure, yes, sure. Because like 2 days ago, there was a taxi man that got into the Vuri Bridge, and they were made to understand that he was using the phone, you see. And even today, when we were coming back from Bonaberi, a little girl was knocked down, and she even died on the spot, because she was on this motor taxi, and a cargo that was not even immatriculated hit the motor taxi, and she died on the spot. So these are all the things by the crime, and I'm sure that right now we've come to stay to make all these things go.
With this increasing rate of accidents in the city of Douala, do we blame it on the fact that the cars are not regulating their activities, or is as a result of them not knowing maybe the use of highway, how to use the highway?
Most of the drivers don't even understand the highway code. Like I just said a few minutes ago, we found out many of them don't even have the driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, there's no way we can even say you understand the highway code. So there are too many irregularities, and some of the vehicles too are in a very bad technical state. You must accept that. So if a vehicle is in a bad technical state, you cannot drive properly, and of course that is part of disorderness. That's why we're insisting on checking out for the roadworthiness parking certificate.
There are some routes actually, like when you are moving towards, is an observation that was made by reporters on the field today, that when you are moving towards the Vuri Bridge, there's no indication like that drivers are supposed to slow down their vehicles, or they just move on, and the place is very risky. Is that not also a
we've
problem?
taken note of that, and we're going to put some sign there to regulate the speed on that bridge.
What about the motorbike sector?
Yeah, the motorbike sector, we are still on the sensitizing phase. You know, this is a very delicate sector, and the head of state in his 10th of February speech to youth recognized and wants to reorganize the sector. So we are working on this project, and we are not going to fall on them immediately. We have maybe another 2 or 3 weeks to start following them up. But through this period, we are doing sensitizing.
How are you going to mobilize your resources to ensure that the sector is really regulated? You know, there are so many in the city of Douala, and you can hardly tell who is who. How are you going to mobilize your resources?
Yes, like I said with you, we have about 400 motor taxi here in Douala, in the city of Douala. And right now we're working with their syndicates, because they have a lot of syndicates, and these syndicates know exactly how to sensitize them, because they have camps. So these syndicates are going to sensitize them, and at our level, the Ministry of Transport, the minister has instructed that we organize special training programs and exams for them, so that they could be able to understand the road code and have their driver's licenses.
So in the nearest future, we are rest assured that things might get a little better.
Much
maybe
better.
After
much better, because the kind of study that some ministries are putting in place after the head of state speech, it's really profound. And I'm
but
sure
much still needs to be done.
Much still needs to be done. That is why we need to actually do a study on them and make sure that they should be able to accept and understand why we want them to be in order. Because, you know, many of them don't reason like you and me. So we need to talk to them slowly to make them understand. And you should know that this profession, most of them are not doing it because they like to do it. They are doing it because maybe they don't have jobs, and it's a means of survival. So we cannot put them down. We need to just encourage them and let them give value to their profession.
And regulate their activities. Thanks indeed, Mrs. Ayokeba Pamela, for joining us tonight. You're actually the regional delegate of transport in the city of Douala. Thanks indeed in the littoral region. Thanks indeed for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Okay.
And to you viewers, we thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. We have actually come to the end. Join Fenelong Maupsen at exactly 8 p.m. for the French version of the news. Meantime, have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs. Good evening to you all.